What's up, peeps? Nick Battle, aka NinosCorner. Look, man, we got a lot to cover today, man. A whole lot to cover today, man. Look, man, Isaiah Bonds, the talented wide receiver out of the University of Alabama, has transferred to Texas. And also, folks, we got Jade Baron. He is returning here to the University of Texas as well. And also some great news, man, that we might be getting Dwayne Akina back, bringing that DBU back, folks. So let's go ahead and let's get into it, man. Look, Isaiah Bond coming back, well, not coming back, but coming to Texas from Alabama, folks, is huge news. Texas, as we know, loses, Mitchell. We lose Worthy. We also lose, Whittington too as well, and also JT Sanders. So we got to replenish. We got to reload here on the offensive side of the ball when it comes to receivers and tight ends. So losing a guy like Mitchell, losing Worthy, losing Jay Witt, having a guy, first off, getting a Matthew Golden just a few weeks ago was big. It was huge to get him to pair with, Cook. But then also getting Isaiah Bond, who was the number one wide receiver here in the transfer portal, is truly outstanding. So now you're bringing in the opportunity for Texas to have Quinn Ewers actually throw the ball to guys like Jonte Cook and Bond and Matthew Golden, along with those slew of wide receivers that Texas already has here on the staff, like a Ryan Niblett and, Moore and Ryan Wingle coming in as well, Freddie Du Bois Jr. Folks, we got a lot of talent here, man. A lot of talent here. Also Aaron Butler as well. But then also you couple that with the folks that we have here at the running back position too, and having a guy like CJ Baxter and, Jaden Blue having this coming out party this year, and a Savion Red and a Trey Wisner, and a Jared Gibson, and a Christian Clark. Folks, we are cooking with hot grease right now. Getting Isaiah Bond, folks, let's go ahead and let's just stick to topic. Getting Isaiah Bond, huge for Texas. Absolutely huge. Monumental. But folks, hold on, folks. If you want to dial in, this is going to be a call-in show. You want to dial in, go into the comment section. I got it pinned to the top of the comment section, folks, is the dial in. Click that link. You can dial in. Or if you go into the video, box, down there and click on any of those links, dial in. You can voice your opinion here on the show, also without having just to type your comments in. But let's get back to the topic at hand. Folks, Isaiah Bond. Everybody understands who exactly he is, folks, from the 4th and 31, the Miro Miracle, folks. I mean, we all understand it down there in Auburn. But Texas goes and gets a guy like that to come here to the University of Texas. Bond is an electric receiver, folks. I think we all understand that. Had a huge catch against us down in, T-Town. But we actually won that game, but he had a huge catch. Also caught that 2-point conversion. Look, Isaiah Bond is a baller. And for Texas to get a guy like that, it just shows that Steve Sarkisian is reloading on that talent that is coming here to Texas and not just starting over. And I think this gives a great opportunity for the players that are going to be behind these guys now to just see what it is to have a championship level guy come in on this team and do great things. We've seen what Isaiah, Bond could do in the SEC week in and week out, and that's with Jalen Miro as his quarterback. I'm not saying nothing bad about Jalen Miro, but when it comes to just purely throwing the ball, Quinn Ewers is in a whole nother tier. There's tiers to this, right? I just saw a quote from Bond to see why he came here to Texas, and I just read this about 5 minutes ago. And he said that he's making a business decision. And his business decision was for him to get drafted higher in the draft. So when you look at things like that and comments like that, I think he sees a guy like Adonai Mitchell, who came in, was probably a fringe 4th round pick, 5th round pick at Georgia. All he did was catch touchdowns, folks, in national championship games and in playoff games. But he sees a guy like Adonai Mitchell come in, and after 1 year, Adonai Mitchell is fringe to be he's mocked to be a fringe 1st round draft pick in the draft, man. I've seen some draft picks have him going in the 1st round to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, of course, we got to look at where the seeding is going ahead, but he's going to be a late 1st round, 2nd round pick in the draft. And I think Bond sees that, and I think he wants to showcase that he's not a one-trick pony. I think in the Alabama offense, Jalen Miro could have done a lot more if I think the offensive coordinator would have allowed him to. But I think he's seeing, look, we got Tommy Reese and I got Steve Sarkisian. Who am I going to pick that's going to put me in a different stratosphere to get drafted into the NFL draft? And I think Steve Sarkisian is that answer. I think we've all seen here, just from college football standpoint, the picture of all the wide receivers that Sark had in that magical championship run and in the year previous to that. And in that year previous to that, he had Jerry Jeudy and he had Henry Ruggs and he had Waddle and he had Smith. And I see that's what Texas is trying to replicate and build here. Now, this year, we're going to have Cook, who was a fast guy. I think Cook was a 10.5, 10.6 guy in the 100-meter dash in high school. And Matthew Golden is another guy that's a ton of speed. And then also, you look at Bond ran a 10.5, if I'm not mistaken, in the 100-meter dash in high school as well, coming from Georgia. So you're looking at a lot of speed on this team, and Texas is going to utilize that. We've said over the last couple of years that Sark has a type when it comes to his wide receivers. Usually smaller frame guys that are very quick, great feet, great route running. That's Bond to the T, man. I mean, he is outstanding at what he does. And he is going to be a definite asset here for Texas. One thing I do want to say too is once we look at this, we're looking at Isaiah Bond as being one of those guys who has played a full 2 years in the SEC. So the SEC competition is not going to be something new to him. This team that we have coming into the SEC in 2024, folks, this is going to be new to them, to have a week in, week out grind of SEC talent of folks that they are going to have to play week in and week out. And I see that Steve Sarkisian wants to make sure that he has bona fide talent that is proven, especially in that first year into the SEC. Now, with Nick Saban retiring, the SEC is wide open, folks. I'm not saying it wasn't going to be wide open next year with Saban, also, but it's even more wide open. There are so many unknowns now. If Saban is still at Alabama, some of these players that are hitting the portal probably don't hit the portal, folks. I don't think you see Bond hit the portal. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. But Steve Sarkisian wants to assure that when he goes into the SEC in 2024, that he is bringing in a team that is highly qualified to compete week in and week out. So you're seeing, Quinn, he's coming back for his third starting year. You don't want to put a brand new redshirt freshman Arch Manning to be his first real snaps to be in the SEC. Let the game slow down for him. Quinn, you can see that game is starting to elevate. It's starting to mature. We're seeing that Quinn is already being heralded as probably going to be the number one quarterback in the SEC next year. You're seeing that he's bringing in guys like Bond, who has 2 years of SEC starting experience at the University of Alabama. So these are guys that know the SEC talent, know how to navigate it, and are not afraid of that talent. Not to say anybody on the Texas team is afraid. I'm not saying that, but these are guys that go in and week out and know what to expect. We're seeing that with this offensive line. Just the continuity. Yes, they haven't been in the SEC every game, but this is a unit that is going to have continuity. That's why it was big for Texas to bring back a guy like Jake Majors at the center position, because he is one of those guys that is going to solidify the line, and there's continuity, and we're not breaking in a new center going into the SEC. And that is why it's important to my next step here. We're going to talk about Jade Baron. Baron coming back for that nickel position, maybe some cornerback position as well, is outstanding for Texas, because we don't have to break in a new star going into the SEC first week of 2024. Now, Andrew Makuba is one of those guys who we thought would be that star position if Baron was to leave. But with Baron coming back, folks, this shores up so much, man. You have you got Manny Muhammad at cornerback. You got Terrence Brooks at cornerback. You got Baron at star. Nothing changes there, folks. But now with Baron coming back, you are able to, no kidding, put Makuba back at safety, and hit Makuba and Derek Williams at safety, folks. And now you have a secondary that was perceived as probably the weakest link on the defensive side of the ball to now be one of the strengths. All right, so you're looking at some good things happening here with Baron coming back. A lot of flexibility in that defensive backfield. a lot of positionless football in that defensive backfield because Baron can be moved all around, whether it is at the star position, whether it is at the safety position, whether it is at the cornerback position. He is that talented and he is that versatile and that flexible to where he can play any of those positions, which makes it uh, so much greater for PK because he is able to employ a lot of different defensive formations with the personnel that he is going to have there at Texas. You got to love what's happening here. And then if we're talking about bringing people back, let's go into the latest news, which is not confirmed yet. But Dwayne Akina might be coming back as the analyst here at the University of Texas. Anybody knows who Akina is? Man, DBU. So you got to understand, folks, those championship runs that Texas had in '05 and those great teams, that's Akina, man. I mean, he was the guy manning that secondary when it comes to coaching and putting guys in position. When you're able to have one of the greats in Akina come back to the University of Texas to be an analyst and be a person who can be the eyes in the sky for guys like Blake Gideon, also guys like Terry Joseph, PK as well. I mean, it's just great. It's just great. So Sarkisian is building a hell of a staff here at Texas, and especially going into the SEC. This is masterful, folks. This is masterful because he understands what it takes to win there. He's won a championship as an offensive coordinator. He's learned from two of the best coaches to probably ever coach in college football, and Pete Carroll and also Nick Saban. Steve Sarkisian is the right coach that we have here at Texas, folks. Blackwood has a comment. He goes, hopefully Texas will get the DL coach in before junior day. Exactly. I want to see who Texas is going to hire for that defensive line coach. I've heard a few names. I won't say them here online, and these are just guesses from some folks behind the scenes, but some very good guesses. But man, Texas has to shore that up because that can impact guys like DeAndre Robinson from Orlando, Florida. Because look, we got Alex January. He's coming in. I think he moved in today or yesterday. His father played here at Texas. We all understand that. Big kid. It was he's 6'5", 6'6", 320 pounds. DeAndre Robinson is also a guy that we need here at Texas. We got to solidify those trenches. We've done an outstanding job of that for the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, we're starting to get there, but we're not totally there yet, folks. We got to shore up that defensive line, and I think DeAndre Robinson is a big piece of that, folks. We need that immediately, ASAP. King Kunta goes, we need to sign Jabbar Muhammad. He has three cousins at UT, Malik Muhammad, Billy Watt Jr., and his female cousin that plays basketball at UT. I think we need two more defensive tackles, a tight end, and a linebacker as well, but we're set at wide receiver now. Definitely understand that. I want Jabbar Muhammad as well. Can you imagine having like a Muhammad Islands, right? Jabbar on one side, Malik on one side, and you got the Muhammad Islands, right? I mean, that would be awesome. But listen to other podcasts and listen to stuff behind the scenes. Guys, I went to Texas. Okay. Everybody understands that. I went to Texas. It's hard to get into Texas, folks. And this guy's a fourth-year guy coming into the University of Texas. It's hard to get in as an athlete if you're not a grad transfer, for one thing. But it is extremely hard. I mean, it's for everything that we want to harp on Texas and kind of diss other schools about the academic qualifications here at Texas. There's good and there's bad with that. There's good in that because it is held to a higher standard, and a degree from Texas means a lot. It's bad for the athletic side of the house because some credits from different schools might not transfer into Texas because of our high academic rigor. All right, so those are things that we have to look at. But Kunta, I love what you're saying here about, I think we need two more defensive tackles. Exactly. We need more DTs. One thing I do want to say about that is having a guy like Alfred Collins come back and commit back to Texas, and pledge that he's coming back for his last year. That was huge for Texas, with us losing Sweat and Murphy. But now bringing in Collins back, and he can own that room. Him and Broughton can own that room, right? So now they are the guys that, that could be those head honchos and those dogs in that room. So almost like how Sweat and Murphy were, and then almost prior to that, how Ojimo and Coburn were. It's just passing the torch on to the next, to the next generation of D linemen. And then after Collins and Broughton leave, folks, then that's when they pass the torch down to guys like Sadir Mitchell and Alex January and a DeAndre Robinson, if he does, actually stay with his class. But Texas has to nail down that defensive line coach. Bo Davis was monumental in getting some of those guys because he is such a great, talent developer. And also a guy like Melvin Hills, man, who I need to talk to Melvin. Guys understand that, I'm a guy who interviews some of the recruits as well too. And you guys saw Melvin come on about 2 or 3 weeks ago for the live chat. And so maybe I'll bring him back on. I got to give him a text. But Bo Davis was very instrumental and very monumental in bringing those guys in. So now it's, who does Texas bring in for that defensive line coach that can kind of mimic and do the same things that Bo did, if not as equal or better? And hopefully we can get somebody too who is, like, no kidding, a rainmaker when it comes to actually recruiting at the position. There's one thing that people had to knock on Bo Davis, but look, the development piece of Bo Davis is something that cannot be ignored. Now, tight end too, King Kunta, I'm with you on that, bro. We have got to get another tight end. Losing JT Sanders, I don't think people understand how huge that is. He's the second ranked tight end in the draft for a reason, because he's really good. I like Gunnar Helm. I think Gunnar Helm's going to have a sneaky good season. I don't think he's dropped the ball since he's been here at Texas. But Texas does need to find out who is going to be that second guy at tight end. Is it Juan Davis? Is it Spencer Shannon? Is it Will Randall? Or do they want to, assure themselves and go get somebody who is a little bit more seasoned? That is something that Texas has to look into. But I love Gunnar Helm. I think people are sleeping on how good Gunnar Helm can be. When he scored that first touchdown this year, I think his first touchdown was against Oklahoma. I mean, I was ecstatic for him. And I think the second one was Iowa State, or it was Texas Tech, one of the games. But he's one of those guys that you want to see do well, because you can tell he's a team player. He's a team guy. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we need one more tight end. And linebacker. All right, King Kunta. Linebacker is where we got to look at this one, right? We know that we got Anthony Hills. He's the next great everything, right? He's the next great linebacker here out of Texas. He's going to be very similar and almost reminiscent to what we saw out of Derek Johnson once he leaves Texas. I think he has that kind of ability, and he's one of those guys that once you see him play, you understand he's going to be one of the greats here. He's going to be one of the greats here. So you got him. Does Hill slide over into Ford's position? And do we have Bender next to him, or do we put in like a guy like Mo Blackwell, or maybe LaFau, right? Samaje Burrell. We got talent there, but I'm with you. Maybe we need some more talented. I'm not going to say talented. It's the wrong word. Take that back. Some more seasoned guys that have some more snaps that could come in a pinch if a guy like Blackwell, if a guy like Benda gets hurt. We don't want to be in the position in the linebacker room where we were at the wide receiver position 2 years ago with Nayer. All right, so when Nayer got hurt, we had all our eggs in the basket that Nayer was going to be that boundary wide receiver that was going to do great things for Texas and have X do his thing. Well, when Nayer tore his knee up, we were left with X and Whittington, and we were asking X to do things that are not things that he should be doing on the regular at the wide receiver position. And of course, he's playing with a broken hand too as well. Fast forward, Nayer comes back from injury, but you got to continue to get better, and you recruit people from the portal and you recruit guys from high school to take the guys that are on your roster's job. That's how you build great depth and talent. Is you want to recruit somebody that is going to push the next person. That's what Texas did with Adonai Mitchell. And so if Adonai Mitchell would have gotten hurt last year, we had Isaiah Nayer still there. We had the Casey Kane still there. We still had talented guys that could play. But I think you're right, Kunta. I think Texas needs to bring in another linebacker even if all they do is play special teams, or if they got to come in and spell a guy for a series or two because maybe David Bender or Mo Blackwell gets the wind knocked out of him, or LaFau or Samaje Burrell, maybe they get hurt or something and have to miss a couple games. You have talented depth where the floor of your team is still higher than some of the teams that you are going to be playing. And that's when you know that your squad is legit, right? So I'm with you on that. But on this last piece, I think we're set at wide receiver now. I think we are too. Even though it looks like Texas is still in the mix for that wide receiver out of Oregon State. The little scat back guy, man, that dude is fast, man. I could see Texas bringing a guy like him in and kind of having him play that Keelan Robinson role, little special teams, some punt blocking, some punt returns, some kickoff returns. He could probably be a guy that can line up in the backfield and maybe play some running back as well. Not be a running back, but with all the motions that Sark uses, have a guy like that come in and have some 21 personnel or some 20 personnel with him out of the backfield, wheel routes where he has to go against a linebacker now. I'm telling you, man, this could work. So we're seeing what Sark's doing, man. Sark is in his bag right now, and I'm loving it. My boy, Ladarius Hicks says, yeah, Kendrick Blackshire. You think he may be a good fit? Hey, Hicks, he's the guy. See, Blackshire, he's the guy from Oregon State, right, Hicks? I've been forgetting all these guys' names. We got so much stuff going on right now. But yeah, that's the guy from Oregon State. Yeah, I mean, look, he could be a good fit because he could play that Keelan Robinson role. Because I think maybe the Texas staff thought that Jaden Blue might be the guy playing that Keelan Robinson role. Nah, Jaden Blue is going to get some carries, dude. He's going to be a guy that's going to be counted on to do great things here at Texas. Him and CJ Baxter are going to be a constant rotation. And I'm telling you, man, it's going to be lovely. So when you don't have to, it's like found money. Jaden Blue is money we already had in the bank, and we kind of forgot that we had the money in the bank. It was sitting in the savings account. Blackshire, that's a linebacker. That's a linebacker from Alabama. Yeah, I mean, he'd be great depth. Would he come in and push for a starting position? Is he kind of the same player that we already have in Benda? Yeah. So he's one of those guys. Yeah. If he wants to come, you bring him in. You bring him in for competitive depth. Maybe he starts. Maybe he's better than Benda. Maybe he's better than Black Will. But that's when you let those guys kind of get into the room with each other and kind of figure out who's the best out of those three. But yeah, I would take him. Yeah, definitely. I would take him. But talking about Jaden Blue, I said he was found money, right? He's like that money that you had sitting in the savings account or a CD, and then you kind of forgot about it. You had it sitting in like a CD for a year, and it's getting you 6%, and it comes back and you got more money than what you actually just thought you had. That's Jaden Blue. Jaden Blue is that found money. He's money that we had sitting over here, and we had Jonathan Brooks playing, and we were kind of tinkering where it's going to be Jonathan Brooks and CJ Baxter, and we end up starting Baxter first, go to Brooks. Brooks gets hurt, then Baxter comes in, and then we got the found money. We're like, oh man, I forgot about this money I had, man. Let me go bring this in. You got Jaden Blue, and you bring him in, and he's much more of a player at the running back position that, in my opinion, than Keelan Robinson is. And that's nothing bad about Keelan Robinson. Keelan Robinson's probably going to make an NFL roster, folks, just on special teams alone. He's a hell of a special teams player. But Jaden Blue runs hard between the tackles. He's one of the fastest guys in the team. If he can clean up the fumbles, man, that's the only thing. But people forget Jaden Blue was the number one running back in the country his junior year going into his senior year before he didn't play his senior year, and that knocked down his rankings. Now, he's found money, folks. Jaden Blue is almost on his way to getting a high 4, maybe low 5-star, right? So, yeah, Hicks goes right here. Jaden was a diamond in the rough. His speed alone is ridiculous. Exactly. Talking to my boy Nash Talks Texas, I think he tracked Jaden Blue at running something ridiculous, 22.9 or 23 miles per hour. And based upon the players that are in the NFL right now, there's only one player that ran that speed this year, and that was the running back for the San Francisco 49ers. What's the guy's name? Mostert, whatever. But Jaden Blue is fast. And he's not small either, folks. I think, what is he, 6 foot, 5'11", 195 pounds or so. So, yeah, Jaden Blue, he is a diamond in the rough. He's found money. And now we're teaming up Jaden Blue with his high school teammate, Matthew Golden, out of Klein, Texas, man. Go ahead, Sark. Man, I am all for Sark and what he's doing. Sark is in his bag right now. He understands that going into the SEC, he has to go in there with proven talent. And he's getting a lot of proven talent out of the portal. We didn't even bring up Trey Moore, folks. If there's two things that this Texas defense was missing last year, if there's two things that this team was missing last year that we thought could have made this team a notch above and potentially won that Washington game hands down and then go play against Michigan, we're missing Great secondary play. And we're also missing great edge rushing, meaning a guy that you can just say, just look, pin your ears back, get the quarterback. And now we got that. Trey Moore is probably the number one or number two ranked edge in the portal. We get him from UTSA. He's coming to Texas. He's a bona fide pass rusher. He's a sack artist, 14 and a half sacks last year or something like that at UTSA. And then we're getting a guy like Colin Simmons coming in, who's probably he's going to get a lot of snaps this year, folks. He's a 5-star for a reason. He's a top 10 player in the country for a reason. It's because he can rush the quarterback. Those guys are hard to come by. So we've kind of shored that up in the portal. We've kind of shored that up as well in this class for the 2024 class with Colin Simmons and also Zena. Man, Zena is, I mean, all the reports that he's come out from his all-star camps have been truly amazing. And then we got guys like Burt coming back and Colton Vasek, Darian Gillette, right? I mean, we've got guys who we can grow with, guys who we can mature, Akina as well, Baron Sorrell. I mean, we got guys that are Justice Finkley. So we got to get that consistent pass rush. And I think that with the addition of Trey Moore and also Colin Simmons and Zena, we're going to find somebody with that consistent pass rush, especially on rushing downs. And there's an opportunity, man, where if we do bring in like another linebacker, let me see, like another linebacker, folks, there's opportunities where we can move in a guy like, Anthony Hill to come in, hit that edge too, and rush as well. Let me see. Consistent pass rush from the edge, exactly. Mock Schnell, Jaden, what did I do, man? What did I do? Did I write something different on here by mistake? Mock's going to keep me straight. Mock's going to keep me straight. Maybe I wrote something different. I was so excited about these, these guys coming to Texas. Maybe I wrote something different by mistake. Let me check. Let me check on YouTube and see what I put in there. No, I didn't say anything about Jaden. Anyways, but yeah, folks. You got to get that consistent pass rush. That's something that Texas has to get. I'm excited for it, man. I think Texas is going to find that here. And I think that Texas is going to be fine, folks. Texas is going to be fine. But look, I do want to talk about Baron again. Having Baron come back, folks, I don't think people realize just how huge that is. Just for the simple fact that we were looking at getting the Clemson transfer, Andrew Makuba to come in and replace, Baron, because we were thinking that, hold on real quick. What did Mock say? He's a D-line coach hired, us pending completion of hiring. Oh, so Mock is, look, I'm on here, so I'm not seeing it. Man. So look, is it named already? Jaden was in the comments. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going to talk. Hey, Drew, what's going on, man? But having a guy like, Baron coming back, man, is just truly outstanding because, like I said, we're going to have a guy like, Andrew Makuba, who is going to basically come in and fill in that position. So having Baron come back allows us to have the flexibility, folks, and it's going to shore up just that defensive side of the ball when it comes to the secondary, man. And it's going to be wonderful. Jaden Blue. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's Jaden Blue. Chicken 1515. I'm not going to say it at first. Yeah, it's a Boomer Sooner, Nick. Nah, it's not Boomer Sooner, man. It is Hook 'em Horns all day long. Horns all right, up. But anybody knows Chicken 1515. He's always on this channel, always on the SEC Connect. He's a big OU fan, as you can see, but one of the good fans of this show too, man. And I love having him on because his comments are great. Mock says no, but it's probably Roach from Bama. He could be retained. We'll see. King Kung says we beat Michigan in week 2. Hey, it's looking better. Blake Corum he's going to the draft. We're also looking at JJ McCarthy. He's going to the draft. And Texas is returning probably a future first-round pick at quarterback and a slew of talent on the offensive line. CJ Baxter, Jaden Blue. Matthew Golden and, Isaiah Bond and Jonte Cook. Oh, my God. Yeah, man. Chicken says, what is Chicken? Is this a compliment? He's saying, glad y'all kept Sark. Future is looking off. Is this a compliment, Chicken? Oh my God. I would never expect Chicken to give a compliment to Texas. But yeah, man. Look, keeping Sark, man, is outstanding. Yeah, so Snell goes Wingo too as well. Fellas, we're deep at wide receiver. And you guys remember Sark's first year here, and Sark made a comment about just how deep the wide receiver room, not with I was, per se talent, but just the numbers and how slim that the offensive line room was. The offensive line room was very, very slim. I think we only had 10 to 12 offensive line commitments here on the team at that time. But we had like a wide receiver room, like 14 or 15 wide receivers. And so Sark goes in and does this thing and kind of revamps that room. He slims down the wide receiver room, beefs up the offensive line room, and now we're seeing the fruits of that because, as I said before, I said last year that when Bijan and Rojo left, I thought that the Texas offensive line was going to be a little bit better than it was the previous year, and that Brooks and CJ Baxter and whoever they throw back there, we're going to have comparable numbers because of the continuity of our offensive line. And I said that. And there are people who, kind of disagree with me on that, but you cannot discount continuity with an offensive line. You can't. Texas returned all their starters back, and then one of their starters was actually the backup this year, and Cole Hudson and DJ Campbell comes in, and so you have competitive depth there. And so we were able to see that this offensive line was able to gel, and because of that, these running backs thrived, right? Go take a look at, kind of reminds me of the Denver Broncos in like the late 90s, early 2000s, where it's like, I don't care who you put in the backfield, these guys are going to run and eat. And the Texas offensive line is gelling to that effect, not taking away any credit from the running backs because we got great running backs. You got to have talent with talent. But yeah, so that's what Texas has done. They have refortified the offensive line. They have trimmed down the wide receiver room and gotten guys that Sark wants in that room. And this goes to another statement here. Ryan Williams, what do you think what happens with him now after Saban? Hey, Hicks, Ryan Williams he's a beast. He's probably not probably. He's the best wide receiver for the 2025 class, who was actually reclassifying to the 2024 class. And if I had to put a paycheck on it, Auburn has been pressing very hard for this guy. And it's going to be hard to see him leave that state. And he decommitted when Nick Saban retired, but I think he was leaning towards decommitting anyways. But now that they got the Washington coach DeBoer, and seeing that DeBoer, what he has done with 3 wide receivers having 1,000 yards last year, he might rethink that, right? He might rethink going back to Alabama, just for the simple fact that we know DeBoer can put a hell of an offense up, folks. One hell of an offense. So I honestly don't know what's going to happen with that. I hope KJ Lacey gets him to come to Texas. I hope he's in his ear every day and saying, come to Texas, throw them horns up. But look, we'll see. Excuse me, folks. So Snell goes, Niblett, Livingstone, DeBose are not chopped. Exactly. They are not. These guys are outstanding. They are awesome. Niblett's fast, man. I think a 10-4 and 100-meter dash. Livingstone is sneaky fast, folks. Don't discredit the speed of Parker Livingstone. If I'm not mistaken, in the 200-meter dash, he ran 21 second. I mean, he's not chopped liver, and he's a big guy too, man. He's a big kid. I was like 6'2", 6'3", about 200, 210 or so, but he's a big kid. He was coming into his own this year prior to him tearing his knee. But, man, he's good. And Freddie Du Bois Jr., look, he tore his knee last year. And like 5 months after he had an ACL tear, the kid was running 10.6s already in the 100. I mean, he was dusting folks. The thing with him is how much lateral movement he will have going into his freshman year. He's young, so he's going to get it back, folks. He is going to get it back. But how much of that lateral agility is he going to have coming off that knee injury? It's going to take some time to rehab and for him to be 100%. But yes, all 3 of those guys, outstanding. And Niblett coming from last year's class in 23, and Livingstone and Du Bois Jr. coming from the 2024 class. And yes, you understand that so Williams decommitted from Bama. We get that, but he decommitted when Saban retired. But he decommitted before Alabama was able to hire their new coach And he might be rethinking things, knowing that DeBoer is one hell of an offensive genius when it comes to his wide receivers. Look, 3 of his wide receivers are getting drafted this year. 2 might be in the first round, right? And let's just keep it real. So there's an opportunity for Williams to go back there, but if I had to put money, I'd probably say Auburn. Auburn has been on him. Hopefully, KJ Lacey can get him to Texas. Chicken 1515 says Sark brought in the right coaches and has the culture right. Yeah, he does. He does. Excuse me, guys. That's one thing that when you look at guys like a Jordan Whittington and things that they have said about the culture of this program and where this team has came from, and when Sark got here, the team was 5-7 his first year, and he builds them up to 8-4, and then we go to 12-1. And win the Big 12 championship. We go, compete for the college football championship too as well in the playoffs. We basically lose in the last play of the game. Shows me that this team is on the right. It's moving right, folks. It's nothing more that you can ask for from this team besides winning the championship. Last year, I personally had this team, and I said 10-2 was the floor of this team last year. They went 11-1 and then 12-1 with the Big 12 championship. So this year coming up, Texas has the opportunity to do great things in the SEC. Like I said, the SEC is wide open, folks. It is wide open right now. Saban retiring. We're seeing an exodus of players coming from Alabama. It's going to open up the SEC, and the SEC is going to be fun next year, folks. It is going to be fun. A lot of offense. I was telling my wife this. I don't know, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And I was telling her, I said, when it comes to college football, it's in waves, folks. It's very cyclical, right? The SEC has been on top for so long because of guys like Nick Saban, right? If Nick Saban wasn't Nick Saban, I don't think the SEC is on top that long. Other teams would have snuck in and won championships, but Saban has been that great. But it runs in cycles, and the way that ball is played runs in cycles. You figure when Alabama was winning championships at first, it was great defense and ground and pound, run the ball. Ingram and Eddie Lacy and Trent Richardson and Fowler. And they were running the ball like crazy, right? And then Alabama plays Ohio State when Tom Herman was the OC there, and they spread Alabama out and they go sideline to sideline. They get those big 240-pound linebackers tired, right? And then they just gash them at the middle with Ezekiel Elliott and pass the ball deep. And it forces a guy like Nick Saban to change his philosophy on football. He goes from bigger linebackers to more trimmed down linebackers, 225 pounds, 230-pound guys, not 250. So they're able to go sideline to sideline, and they're able to, honestly, to compete. The guy that comes to mind is C.J. Mosley, and he's doing it right now in the league right now, right? And so you're seeing how Nick Saban was able to adapt, and so the SEC adapted, as a whole. So now the SEC is about to go through another adaptation period where the SEC is going to be the offensive conference of college football now. It's funny to say that. The SEC over the last 10 years has changed from being the defensive conference of college football, which is still going to have probably the best defenses, them in the Big Ten. But the offenses in the SEC, this is going to be the premier offensive conference. Sarkisian, Lane Kiffin, Kalen DeBoer, right? Offensive geniuses. Jeff Levy at Mississippi State, offensive guy, right? We're going to start to see this is going to be a fun league. Hugh Freeze, offense. You saw what Brian Kelly did at LSU. This is going to be a fun offensive league, and the teams that are going to rise to the top are the teams that still prioritize defense. That's why you saw a team like Texas in the college football playoffs this year. That's why you saw a team like Alabama. As many struggles as they had this year, their defense was still A1. And that's why they were in the college football playoffs this year. Georgia's defense, still good, but they still have great offense, right? So the teams that are going to rise to the top are those teams that got the good defenses. Oklahoma's another one. Oklahoma's defense is always going to be good with BV as their defensive coordinator / head coach. So we're starting to see that this is going to be a very fun offensive league with great teams with great defense too as well. And those ones with great defenses are the ones that are going to rise to the top. So But Nigel, who's the new D-line coach? Don't know. Don't know yet, folks. Not Beaver says, "What's up, Nino? The only loss in production I see is interior defensive lineman." Yes, it's going to be hard to replace a guy like Sweat. Hard to replace a guy like Sweat. But it's good to have a guy like Alfred Collins come back. And let's see. So Superfan Forever says, "I wonder what Michigan kids will transfer when Harbaugh leaves for NFL." That's a good question. But Michigan has a lot of guys leaving right now to go to the NFL themselves, right? So, JJ McCarthy so he just declared. Blake Corum, he declared. I think Edwards declared already too. The wide receiver declared. Michigan is not going to be the same Michigan. They just aren't. King Kuntz says, "If we land Ryan Williams or DeCorian Moore, it's a wrap. Sark could have had the best wide receiving core he's ever had." Well, and the words of the great Bill Parcells, let's not put these kids in the Hall of Fame yet, okay? We got to see what they're going to be able to do. Yes, from a star ranking and a recruiting profile, maybe, but you got to see them play on the field first. But Ryan Williams and DeCorian Moore are two of the best prospects we've probably seen at the wide receiver position in the last 7 to 10 years, probably. They're that good. So if Sark can get one of those guys, he's in his bag. He's in his bag. So Benny Westbrooks. Westbrook's interesting name. You're not any relation to Brian Westbrook, are you, Benny? But yeah, Akina is going to be a great addition. Exactly. He's going to bring DBU back, man, and bring some of that knowledge when it comes to DBU back to the 40 acres, man. A guy that, if I'm not mistaken, he did coach Blake Gideon, if I'm not mistaken, for a few years. So it's going to give that DB backfield an opportunity to glean on some insight from a seasoned veteran who knows what he's doing and has produced some of the best defensive backfields here at the University of Texas and coached some of the best guys like the Michael Huffs, the Mike Griffins, and the Aaron Rosses, and the T Browns, and the ETs, and the Nasty Nate Vasher, and Rob Babers, and Ahmad Halls. You see how I'm going down this list of guys that were just guys that were in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, he has coached Cedric Griffin. Now everybody forgets Ced G, how good Ced G was. Ced G was that dude, man. But yeah, so he's going to be a guy that is going to come in and impart his wisdom on this team. Because he knows what it takes. All those Thorpe trophies up there, he knows what it takes for these guys to get that. But yeah, folks. But look, I've been on here about 45 minutes, folks. Man, I appreciate you guys dialing in. Tomorrow's my birthday, right? So I'm about to go out and watch the Cowboy game. Probably at the bar, have me a drink, some mimosas, a little brunch / lunch. But yeah, man, thanks for tuning in, man. Big news, like I said, Texas getting Isaiah Bond, getting Baron back too as well, and maybe Dwayne Akina coming back here to the University of Texas, man. And it means a lot here. And like they said in the SEC, you guys know I'm in Bama here until June. The SEC, how they said it just means more. It does, folks. It does. It's crazy, all the back talk that is going on here about Isaiah Bond over the last couple of days, and Kalen DeBoer too as well, man. So Nigel, thanks, man. Thanks for those birthday wishes, brother. But yeah, man. Just hope you guys enjoyed the show. It's been a while since I've been on. I'm in class right now for the Air Force, so I haven't had the time. I haven't had a chance to get in like I want to, but I finished like this hard ass paper, so now I got plenty of time. So thanks, guys, man. Thanks for the birthday wishes. Appreciate it, brothers. And yeah, you'll see me again probably tomorrow talking about some new news. Wink, wink. Thanks, guys. Hook 'em all day long. Horns always up. Hook 'em.